Okay, so unfortunately we had some technical difficulties there. However, now we are back in business. Okay, so unfortunately we had some technical difficulties there. However, wait, Robert, I think you're echoing. Okay, so
Robert, echo.
unfortunately, technical difficulties there. I can hear you echoing.
Echo.
Wait, Robert, I think you're. Okay, we're back.
Ben had the YouTube link open.
I had the YouTube link open. It's fine. We're fine.
Resign
Nothing
from
wrong
modship now.
Anyway, yeah, of course, yeah. Anyway, okay. We're going back to the question that we asked at near the end of the part 1, which is that when it comes to putting people back to work, in your view, how big of a role does the government play now, and how big of a role would it play in your ideal world? Please elaborate. We'll start with Mr. Thaddeus.
Good. Thank you, Ben. Look, the people know where I stand on this. The best way to create economic opportunity, to create jobs, is through business innovation and the free market. The best thing for the government to do is preserve and protect businesses when they are able to create these jobs, because it's business and entrepreneurs that are able to create the vast wealth of this nation. It's our investors and the people who believe in this country's market. The best thing for government to do is to protect those workers and to make sure that we get strong paying union jobs that will protect our workers, that make sure they have buying power when they go to the supermarket, and to protect the strong creation of jobs in our country by promoting business freedom and opportunity in our nation. And that's what I will do under my administration: cut small business regulations so we can create jobs that are killing those sectors. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thaddeus. Mr. Sanders, would you like to respond? Or put your question? I'm sorry, you have question time.
Oh, is there another? Okay. Is that a rebuttal or another for the question?
No, not a rebuttal. It's
okay.
Not a rebuttal.
It's for the question. Okay.
Yes.
Well, there actually isn't a whole lot of points of contention right there. What I believe the federal government's job in doing for creating jobs and creating good paying and sparing jobs is by implementing labor reforms that will increase worker co-ops, unions, huge labor reforms that will empower the workers to go forth, be productive members of the society, and help create the wealth needed to rebuild the many communities across this country that are dying and decrepit from years of exploitation by the federal government for corporate bailouts and other corporatocracy or other corporate policies. Where we do disagree, though, is probably on I would assume on the environmental aspect of this, where I believe that the federal government, which I've done under the INDA and the New Dawn Deal, should expand on those programs and continue to create good-paying green jobs, rebuilding our nation's infrastructure, improving on the high-speed rail that we have existing, and really spurring our economy by creating infrastructure jobs, but from the private sector. These infrastructure jobs, again, will be union, good paying, and will create the wealth needed to fund many of the programs that we talk about here tonight and rebuild the communities that we all love.
May I respond to that?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Thaddeus. You have 30 seconds for a rebuttal.
Sure. So on the point of green jobs, I absolutely support the expansion of those. Any way we can create good paying jobs through the private sector and partnership with them is the best way to create those good jobs. However, I think that a major part of this is tax cuts. And the biggest part of my platform is cutting taxes that will alleviate small businesses and make sure that when we have workers who can spend more because they have higher buying power due to these tax cuts, we are going to have stronger corporations that will have the money to create more jobs for Americans, cutting unemployment and creating a trickle-up economic effect that will work for every American.
Thank you, Mr. Thaddeus. Mr. Sanders?
Yes, again, I don't think there is a whole lot of points of contention. Small businesses need a whole lot of open, free space to work and build their business and create a business that will grow their local economies and help spur their growth. I believe in cutting unnecessary regulations for small businesses, and I think presenting that as if I don't is quite silly. But U.S. regulatory policy is generally about short-term reactions to existing problems. And when those problems subside or don't exist at all, businesses rarely get those regulations lifted. And that's at the core of what we need to do when lifting those business regulations.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Mr. Thaddeus, do you have a rebuttal?
Sure. All I can really say is that I think that the long-term solution for small businesses is creating the best possible tax code that works for our small businesses and creates a trickle-down economic effect. My $360 billion tax cut will be able to do exactly that. We are going to create a trickle-up economy that is going to work for every American, because you are going to have more buying power, which means that the company that you are spending at gets more money to pay for more jobs, to hire more Americans, to have more buying power, in a cycle that keeps on going and works for every American. And that is the vision I have for this nation. And I hope Robert does too.
Is there a final rebuttal for that?
Yes, this is your final rebuttal.
Okay, thank you. Again, I'm glad that both of us agree with this, and I think small business owners across this country are happy to see that both major candidates for the presidency are for cutting small businesses, are for opening up their space to build and work creatively to create a 21st century economy that's based around the common man, that's based around the worker, that's based around the labor reforms that we need to be a 21st century superpower. Yeah, okay, great, perfect.
Okay, now we will move on to the next question. We're moving into the last section of questions, which are on foreign policy. First of which is, what do you believe are the long-term implications of an extended drone campaign within a country which we have not declared war on, such as Yemen currently, with regards to potential radicalization, democratic institutions, and future cooperation? Mr. Sanders, we'll start with you.
Well, thank you. I was happy to see Adam Evans under his presidency, and I was happy to work with him as an advisor on this issue, removing our military support from Yemen, and under Kenneth Conyoin's leadership in the House, and I was proud to work with him on that foreign policy aspect as well. We continued that by excuse me, trying to find the specific name of the policy, but I guess I can't. But we continued that by removing almost of our whole buddy-buddy diplomatic relationship with the Saudis. We must continue that, and under a Sanders administration, we will. The long-term effects of a drone strike program, whether that be in good intentions, which most of it is the hatred that those citizens in that country feel towards the United States, which lowers our diplomatic standing on the global stage when we're trying to combat China or trying to rebuild the African Union and trying to spur growth in these poor, exploited countries that have been colonialized for so long. We have to be a beacon of hope and light throughout the world, and we cannot do that by killing citizens in a drone strike program to take out military combatants that have been created by military programs in those countries. Our continued presence in these countries is not only exacerbating civil wars like the Cold Wars like Iran versus Saudi Arabia, but it is making the issue worse on a global scale, not just in the Middle East. We have to stop intervention and remove a lot of our military bases from the world, and I'm glad Roman agrees with this now. I'm glad Roman agrees with this in this election. Decrease the defense budget, in doing so, becoming a beacon of hope.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Mr. Thaddeus, your response.
Thank you, Ben. You know, I don't understand what the goddamn hell we're doing in Yemen. It's not our fight. We shouldn't be there. Simple. And why are we helping the Saudis bomb children? It's hurting us geopolitically, and it's just not right. But when we're talking about the issue of drones, this isn't a matter of walking the walk and talking the talk, because my running mate, David Delaney, ended drone strikes back in season 13. That's real action. He's ended the drone strikes program so that those strikes cease to a halt in Yemen, and so that innocent children don't end up being on the other end of being bombed. Okay, that is action, and that's what my running mate did, and that's what we're going to follow up on in a Thaddeus administration, ending those drone strikes and leading a non-interventionist administration that will work to mend our ties geopolitically. That is what I'm going to do.
Thank you, Mr. Thaddeus. Mr. Sanders, do you have a response?
Yes. Mr. Delaney has done great work throughout his career, and I commend him for that one specifically. I loved that bill, and he's a good friend of mine. But just, I think maybe a fact check is deserved on this, just for clarification. In MEC, Adam Evans got us out of Yemen. Kenneth reduced our relationship with Saudi Arabia, and as stated previously, David Delaney got rid of much of our drone strike program. So thankfully, we are already on the right track, and much of what Roman said is already done, and we are moving towards becoming a beacon of light. And thankfully, we are united in that front to make the United States a beacon.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Mr. Thaddeus, do you have any final rebuttals?
Robert is goddamn right. We're on the right track, and that's because of the great work of my running mate, David Delaney. Look, this ticket brings so much to the table. It is a bipartisan ticket that can work together on this issue, that agrees on this issue, and the limited role of the United States in the world when it comes to issues like war. We need to avoid the wars. We need to get out. And a big part of that and improving our geopolitical ties is when we walked the walk instead of talking the talk, when David Delaney ended that drone strike problem in season 13.
Thank you.
It was a dispute then, but it's done, and we don't need to worry about it now.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Thaddeus. We're going to have to move on to the next question of this debate. Ever since World War I, the United States has been seen as a mediator of sorts, a country which has been involved in foreign conflicts such as World War II Europe, the Korean War, and Vietnam, for better or for worse. Do you believe that the United States should maintain this role? If not, how would you, as Commander-in-Chief, desire to shift America's foreign policy perspective? Mr. Thaddeus, we'll start with you.
Sure. So first of all, I am a committed non-interventionist. I don't believe in the United States playing a big role in foreign wars, in big foreign aid projects that I think that when we can be spending our money right here at home. But when we're talking about the United States' position as a mediator, this is a point of creating peace, not for a point of creating war. And so I think that is perfectly honorable during larger conflicts that have significant more masses of destruction, to be able to at least come to some sort of agreement. However, when there are smaller conflicts, I'll take my homeland, the Armenian-Azeri conflict in the Nagorno-Karabakh. That is a small regional dispute that the United States shouldn't be involved with, and that we have little business to be involved with. So that's why I think that it really depends on a situation-to-situation basis of when is our role to mediate. You know, when you have a situation like Israel and Palestine, I think that that is quite important. So, you know, that is when we come to an issue of where we need to stand as America, as the free world, and as Roosevelt said, the great arsenal of democracy.
Sorry, I was muted there. Thank you, Mr. Thaddeus. Mr. Sanders, your response to the question?
Can you reiterate the question? I just want to get it right, because I know there was a little bit of intricacy in it.
Basically the gist, yeah. Basically the gist of it is, do you believe that the United States should maintain its role as a world mediator? If not, how as president would you shift the foreign policy perspective?
Well, I disagree with the premise of the question almost, because of the last 4 decades almost, not under the administrations in MEC, but under real-life administrations using real-life precedent, the United States has engaged in economic wars for its own benefit in the pursuit of exploitations of resources for private businesses. I consider myself a constitutionalist, so I fully understand the importance of leaving the power to declare the war in the U.S. Congress rather than the president. And I've fought to do so as president, as a representative, not in this last term, but before that, and I will continue to do so, because when deciding when to go to war or when to deciding to use military power, that is not an action of mediation. That is an action of aggression in a lot of cases, as a generality. And my approach to the issue is that we must use our unprecedented level of economic and diplomatic power to mediate the issues, as Roman stated, in Israel, Palestine, in Iran, in Saudi Arabia, and China, and Russia. Not those two verse each other, but mutually exclusive, and so many other issues, because the United States is uniquely equipped to be able to do that. What we need is a president who has a pragmatic approach to this and who has dealt on the international world, building international treaties, bringing together the world, the African Union, to do so. And despite the United States' history of economic warfare and lack of mediation on these issues, we will become a mediator and, again, a beacon of hope for the world, creating an era of peace in the 21st century.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Mr. Thaddeus, do you have any rebuttals to that?
Sure. So, it's music to my ears to hear Robert's belief in limiting the role of the executive branch. I think that when it comes to a matter of these major decisions that need to be made, there has to be the consultation of Congress, right? Congress needs to be informed, and they need to approve, let's say, a strike on foreign soil. That being said, I also think that it is necessary to be able to stand up for ourselves at times, and this is where I, yet again, will bring up Madagascar, because we have to know when to intervene, right? In the Madagascar crisis, we left alone a situation that could have been completely prevented if we went to the United Nations.
Thank you, Mr. Thaddeus. Your time is up.
I'll address that in my next rebuttal.
Mr. Sanders, a rebuttal?
No, our position is clear on this, or both of our positions is clear on this issue, and I'm not going to respond to an attack that was made previously about an event that happened a year and a half ago.
All right, sounds good. We're going to have to move on to our next question, which is our final question, which Mr. Sanders will answer first, and that is, what is your greatest fear or concern for our country in your potential presidential mandate and beyond? Please elaborate.
My greatest fear for our country is that in the 21st century, we don't live up to our potential. We don't take this unprecedented moment and make the fundamental reforms necessary to provide the basic needs for all Americans and create a pragmatic, worker-centric government that will pass the labor reforms necessary to make the United States a superpower once again on the world stage. Because we cannot allow China nor Russia to be a superpower going into the 21st century, letting an authoritarian dictator-like regime control the global stage. I have done that in my trade policies, in my foreign policies, so on and so forth, and we can overcome this fear. I don't like to think in terms of fear. I like to think in terms of optimism and hope, but obviously I'm a realist in that there are a lot of challenges that this country faces, and it's up to us to overcome those fears by electing visionary, optimistic leadership, as opposed to reactionary, pessimistic, non-productive leadership that will stagnate that will stagnate our government, stagnate our country, and put us in a worse spot in the 21st century than we should be in.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Mr. Thaddeus, your response?
Before I begin, just a question. Are there going to be rebuttals on this question or no?
I don't think that's really necessary, so I think we were not going to do that.
I'll be very honest. My biggest fear for running as president of BEC would it be to watching this community fall into inactivity. It's something that we can all talk about the issues, but that is the one thing I totally dread. That from the perspective of the community. Look, we need a healthy choice for this community, and I think that for that we need new vision. We need new blood in the Oval Office, and I think that I can deliver that. And that is my worry, that if we do not change the course, if we do not keep electing, if we keep electing folks who have served as president before, I'm concerned about, what this community would really stand for. Why do we need, for over and over again, elect the same people each time? And I think that is one of the major problems when it comes to an issue of activity. We need to get new vision because, let's take Chase Stevens as an example. Okay, you could say he's not a great president, but everyone agrees that his controversy sparked activity in the community. It sparked genuine interest and light. And I think that's what I can bring to the table, because I'm not going to agree with everyone on everything, but I'm someone new to the Oval Office if I were to be elected, and I think that is what I can bring to the table.
Thank you, Mr. Thaddeus. Now we will move on to closing statements. Each candidate will be given roughly 1 minute, as they were in the opening statement. Mr. Thaddeus, you have been chosen to go first.
Thank you, Ben. It's been a privilege to debate today and to hear the two opposite worlds presented to this country. I'd like to leave with a more unitary note, because I know that both candidates here tonight have their flaws and have their strengths, and most importantly, want to help the American people. The question is how. We both strive for a country of freedom, of justice, humility, and progress, and align ourselves with the principles of a free society. These debates are a centerpiece of our democracy. It's what the founders would have wanted, which I am proud of. I have no doubt that Robert can make a solid fourth term, although I don't, and I don't think most of MEC agrees with the idea of a fourth term. But I believe I can deliver something new and something better. It's our change versus what I believe Robert has tried for 3 terms, and you can like them or not, and I respect it either way. In the end, I pray to the good Lord both visions will produce a greater nation, a more active community. If you believe in the vision I've laid out, if you believe in my path where the America is better, that is the road that we shall take. I humbly ask you to cast your vote for Thaddeus Delaney, a better bargain for America. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thaddeus. Mr. Sanders, your closing statement.
Yes, I would just like to start by saying Harvey should have been here, and there should not have been a polling requirement for a debate. He is running for president. The American people deserve to see his platform and hear his platform. I would like to thank Ben and Roman for participating today, and the American people for watching this so important debate. Again, my biggest fear is that we don't live up to our potential, is that we don't take over the 21st century, reclaim our spot as the world superpower, expand that spot, and move forward as a country unified in the pursuit for liberty, justice, and happiness for all. What we must do is not live in fear of the election of another candidate or the election of our opponent, but live in hope. Live in hope for the future. Live in hope that together we can reform and change this community to make it great, engaging, and a healthy place to discuss policy and run for president, run for Senate, run for Congress, run for House, run for the governorship, and actually participate in a community where you can get ahead. That's not going to happen because I'm elected for a 4th term. That's not going to happen because Roman's elected. That's going to happen when all of us stand up together, unified around that message, and actually make the change instead of attacking the other opponents, smearing them, and stopping that change from happening by being an obstructionist. My candidacy is about revolutionary change, yes, but it's about pragmatic, worker-centric government that will change and reform this country, and in doing so, through those policies, we will create an engaging community and an engaging space for everyone so that they can get ahead no matter what. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I look forward to going out on the trail and keep fighting for the American people. We're going to do this together. We're going to make MEC great again, and we are going to own the 21st century. On Friday, vote for Sanders Patrick. It's your future, our fight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Thank you, everyone, for listening to our debate. I know it got a little choppy near the end, but we were able to fix that. Thank you to MEC CBS for broadcasting. Thank you for every viewer for listening. Thank you for the input and commentary from both candidates. It is such communication that keeps these events relevant and important. To the venue Once again, thank you to both candidates for your participation. Good luck in the presidential election. Good luck in the second debate. And good luck in continuing the tradition of MEC democracy. And don't forget, as Abraham Lincoln once said, a ballot is stronger than a bullet. Thank you and good night.
Has the stream ended?